Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming today. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute. We're going to give people a few minutes here, just a minute or two actually, to log in. While we wait, we would love to see where everyone's from out there. So you'll see that there's a chat box there. If you want to type in your chat box, we'd love to see some activity there. You can type in maybe where you're from, if you want to mention your pet care center or pet business. That would be interesting for us to check out. So as we give folks another minute or two to come in, please feel free to share who you are and where you're from. I know we have at least one person from Canada joining us today, and I'm going to introduce her in a little bit. I'd be curious to see if we have any other international folks here.
Jess?
Yeah.
Just so you're aware, this is coming through the questions feed and not the chat box. But
Okay.
we have quite a few people from Illinois, Florida, Mexico.
Oh, great.
Canada, Alaska, Chicago, Texas, Los Angeles, California, Colorado, Atlanta. So we've got a real good representation from across the country.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And Mexico. Let me know if you see any other international visitors. That's always super exciting too.
Will do.
Okay, maybe just a few more seconds and then we'll go ahead and get started. I know it's tough for everyone in pet care to get to the computer right at that moment. So we'll give just a few more seconds before we begin. And as we wait here for a minute, let me just thank everybody for taking the time to sit down and learn more about PACC. We are just super excited to have such great attendance at this webinar today, and also folks that registered online that will view it after. It's really exciting to see how this organization just continues to grow with every month, with every event that we have. So we will get started here today on our webinar about PACC and why independent certification matters to you and why it matters to our great pet care industry. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to IBPSA for helping us host this event, allowing us to use their technology to get this webinar out there today. Natalie, who is kind of keeping a close eye on this webinar, making things that go smoothly, has been instrumental in getting this kicked off. And of course, also to Charlotte Biggs and Carmen Rustenbeck of IBPSA. We really appreciate their continued support of PACC. So let's go ahead and get started and let you know who is actually on the call today. Speaking to you right now, my name is Jess Zelmer. I'm a certified provider with PACC. A little bit about me is that I started my pet care career owning a pet sitting business with my husband for about 5 years, and that eventually transitioned to a dog daycare and boarding center that we operated several years here in Virginia. Now I do some work with the Dog Gurus, and more importantly, I've been lucky enough to be on the PACC board for the past 2 years. I'm just thrilled to be a part of PACC. It's such a wonderful organization, and it's really exciting to be a part of such a significant change in our history, or in our industry, and history, I guess. Also here on the webinar, I have actually 3 other board members. Anna Torres-Radel, who is our fearless leader at this point. She is our leader on the board. She is joining us as well. I didn't have time to get her picture on. She was a little bit of a last-minute add, but we were happy that she was able to join us today. So thank you, Anna. And the 2 other folks that you see pictured here are other tireless volunteers. We have Carrie Campbell, who owns an amazing dog daycare center in chilly Anchorage, Alaska. I know it must be cold up there today, Carrie. And her place is called Dog Tired in Anchorage, Alaska. Carrie is the expert on all things PAC, so I'm happy that she's on the phone today. She's going to help us answer questions. She was the voice that you heard, letting us know where everybody is from, so that's who you heard there, and I appreciate her being on the call today. And then also on the phone, we have one of our international board members. We actually have 2 international board members on the PAC board of directors. We have Stephanie Shipley. Stephanie owns a fantastic pet care center in Canada called Paw and Order. Very cute Facebook page that I follow. And Stephanie is our resident expert on registering for the exam. So she's going to be taking over the presentation in a bit to help folks navigate the registration process. So again, thanks Stephanie and Carrie and Anna for taking the time today to be on this call. So let's get into PAC. Where did it all begin? Well, just like many great ideas, it began around maybe a drink or a dinner in Denver in 2015. A group of industry leaders got together to discuss the idea of a third-party certification for our field. This is something that's never been done before in the world of pet boarding, daycare, and pet sitting. There have been certificates of completion and many other fabulous educational programs, but the idea of a third-party certification by a nonprofit is completely different. And the 2 ladies that you're seeing on the screen, I'm sure many of you know them, Charlotte Biggs, who's the COO of IBPSA, and Susan Briggs of Crystal Canine, and also the Dog Gurus, are really what made PAC come to fruition. These 2 ladies, if you've ever met them, you know that they have a genuine passion for making pet care centers safer places to be, not just for pets, but for the people that work in them. And this passion really is what drove them to the huge, huge task of making PAC a reality, which it is today. Such an achievement. I was just looking at some of the stats last night, and here we are just 3 years later, and we have the creation of 3 different testing levels, a nice sized group of early adopters that have taken the certified PAC exam and passed it. And now here in February, we're having registrations for cycle number 5 of the test. So really, really exciting things. And I'm so glad to have all of you here today to learn about it. Oops, went one step too far there. Okay, so who is PAC? As I've mentioned, PAC is made up of a board of directors. You see a few of them. There's Stephanie again with one of her pups there. So we're made up of a board of directors that kind of regulate things and make the big decisions. We do have a group of volunteers that help us in a variety of different ways. I will tell you, we are always looking for new volunteers. So if PAC is something that you want to participate more in, we would love to have you. So please feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to be a part of this awesome organization and helping it continue on in its mission. We have our certified professionals. As I mentioned, we've had a number of different people take the test and pass the test. One of them you'll see there in the middle, that's Jess Ocon, who lives in Florida. She also volunteers with PAC, but she's a certified professional as well. Pet parents, and this is really becoming the focus of PAC now. Now that the testing is up and running, we have all 3 exams ready to go. Our shift is really going to focus to pet parents and educating pet parents on the importance of finding an educated, knowledgeable provider for their animals. And then finally, we have sponsors and donors that we're so thankful for. Many people in our industry have donated time, have donated services, have donated money to help get PAC off the ground. So many fantastic vendors in the industry recognize the need to elevate this industry. You'll see just a few of them there. The rest are listed on the website. But we're so thankful to these great organizations that have dedicated time and money. And just like volunteers, we can always use more sponsors and donors. So if you know of anybody or you would like to help our mission, whether it's a donation of time or financial, please feel free to reach out. So what Charlotte and Susan really set out to do with the creation of PAC is to elevate our industry to the next level. And this is not a totally new idea to the pet industry. Vet techs have an independent certification, dog trainers have an independent certification, but pet boarding, pet sitting, and daycare does not have an independent or third-party certification. There's a number of reasons why this is so important that we'll go through in the presentation, but perhaps one of the most pressing issues, and one of the reasons why we really need to continue this mission, is that the pet care industry is under more scrutiny right now than it ever has been in the past by local legislators. We hear stories all the time about local legislators seeking to apply more rules and regulations on pet care providers. And that might seem like a great thing, but it's more important that we regulate ourselves because we know what is best for the pet care industry. And with independent certification, we can unite and show that we have pet safety at the forefront of what we do and that we are a true profession. So we need to set our own standards before outside parties start to do it for us. And if you live in any of the states or local legislations that are attempting to put these regulations on us, you'll know that they're not always the most appropriate and they don't always have the best interests of the pets and the pet businesses in mind. So this is another reason why PACC is so important to all of us. I wanted to make sure I include today in the presentation some real life perspective on PACC and why it's important. So I pulled a few testimonials from our website to show you people who actually live, work, and breathe in it every day, why PACC is important to them. And this is Laura Shorak from the Dog Den. She's a certified professional animal care manager. And I loved what she said. She said, true professionals look for ways to stand apart. Certification is a great way to show that you're a professional looking to meet the standards of the industry. She has a large staff. She's encouraged her staff to take the test, and they actually have 10 certified providers on staff soon. So that is really exciting. Laura is one of the early adopters and ahead of the pack in terms of getting her staff certified. So thank you, Laura, and everybody at the Dog Den for caring about the safety of the animals in your care. So what exactly is PACC? PACC is a nonprofit that was created by industry experts to help high-quality providers and owners stand out. Another big part of our mission is to educate pet parents on how to seek quality care by searching for PACC certified animal care providers. Again, PACC is twofold. It's about bringing our industry to a higher level, but also educating the public on what that really means. Please note that we are a nonprofit. We are primarily an all-volunteer organization, and I can tell you there are probably thousands of volunteer hours that have gone into this effort. But PACC does have expenses. Just like any other organization, we have expenses, and that's why there is a fee for testing. And the reason I bring this up is because the question comes up very frequently. If you're a nonprofit, why is there a fee for testing? Why do you conduct fundraisers? Any organization has to have a few paid service providers. We have very few, but we do have them. So we do have expenses. The major expense is working with a professional testing corporation. This is the third party that guided us on the test creation, and they also provide services to administer the test. In order to make it that independent third-party exam, we have to have a service that provides the test to the test takers. We also have a marketing consultant. Certification doesn't mean a whole lot if people don't know what goes behind it, what the knowledge base is. So we do have a marketing consultant that helps us kind of navigate the world of figuring out how to get this message out to the public. And then we have one or two other administrative assistants that work just a couple of hours each week because as we have grown, we're having an influx of questions, phone calls, and all of that, and it's just gotten to be too much. So we have to have a few folks on the phone lines and answering the email as our popularity has grown. And of course, as with any organization, we have to have an attorney to look over things and make sure we're working in the right direction and following all the rules that we need to follow. So even though we're a nonprofit, we do have some expenses. So I just wanted to provide some clarity there. So what does independent certification do? It verifies an individual's knowledge. It also requires ongoing education to maintain certification, and all of this is obtained without commercial bias or a certain entity making a profit. So that is what independent certification does. It provides an unbiased opinion of a person's knowledge and ability to do a job. Third-party testing, what it will do for our field is it promotes excellence. It's going to recognize those who value professional growth and education. So many of you out there value your professional growth just on your own. And if you're on this webinar, it shows that you care about keeping your knowledge up to date. And PACC is a way for you to show that off to the public. It establishes a way to measure a level of knowledge. It will, if you're an employer, it's going to help you differentiate folks that come through your door and apply for jobs at your place. It's going to differentiate those who really want to make pet care a career. So it has a number of different layers of benefits, whether you're an owner, whether you are a pet care provider, whether you're a pet parent. It's important that we have a code of ethics. PACC is not just about taking a test. It's about following a certain set of standards every day. So we do have a code of ethics, and this is going to provide our group of professionals, of board members, of our volunteers, just gives guidelines and helps us to have a way to hold folks accountable. We want to ensure that PACC certified people maintain a certain standard, and that is what our code of ethics is going to do. Again, it's not just about passing a test, it's about maintaining those standards each and every day in your pet care center. So what does our code of ethics include? Of course, at the very center of our code of ethics, it's going to be to provide safe, skilled, and compassionate care to the animals that we have at our centers or that we care for in our pet sitting businesses. We always must put the welfare of the animals in our care at the forefront of what we do. To have a safe pet care center, you also have to have a cohesive team of people with reasonably healthy professional relationships. And I thought that this is so critical to have in the code of ethics as I was reading through it the first time. It is so true that you have to have a cohesive team. So our code of ethics also speaks to how colleagues interact with each other. And I do think that's a really important part of providing good pet care, of providing good pet sitting services. All of this can be found on the website. I just want to kind of hit the high notes here, but if you're more interested in reading the Code of Ethics very thoroughly, you can go to our website. In addition, we are also going to record this webinar. You can come back and reference it, pause it, rewind it as you need, as you see fit. So in addition, our Code of Ethics also says that we have to be honest with our customers. I know that seems kind of obvious, but in the day-to-day, it can get easy to take an easy way out. So it's important to be honest with the customers about the services that you're offering, about the services that they're paying for. In addition, we have to be respectful of other professionals in the industry. Again, this is not just about an independent certification for an individual, but it's about elevating the industry, and we have to work together to continue to advance that image. We also must be honest about the experience and qualifications that we have truthful communication with our clients and with other professionals. So, Perhaps more interestingly, why is PAC important to your business? What's in it for you to get PAC certified, or if you're a business owner, to get employees PAC certified or encourage your employees to get PAC certified? I think many of you out there recognize that the boarding space is getting very, very crowded, and not necessarily with the right services or the right people. Daycare's become a commodity. Everyone from your next door neighbor has become a competitor. There's just so many ways that folks can access pet care that it's getting to be a very crowded market, and more important each day, you need to find ways to differentiate yourself. So picture having this PAC certification. You have that certificate on the wall. You have the digital badge, which we're going to talk about later in the presentation, on your social media. When your clients come through your door or they go to your social media, it's going to be very impactful to share information about this certification. It's going to set you apart from most businesses in your area, most services that are offered around you. In addition, it's going to elevate the knowledge of your team. And when you have an educated, knowledgeable, dedicated team, the likelihood of accidents and errors reduces. And that's going to help your business function more efficiently. My husband and I owned a pet care business for a lot of years. And when we were making decisions whether to invest in certain educational materials, certain seminars, books, DVDs, things like that, we always looked on the flip side. This costs us a certain amount of money, but what will it save us? One trip to the vet for a couple of stitches is several $100s. So I would prefer to invest that in my employees' knowledge than to pay for a set of stitches. So having an educated staff is going to reduce the likelihood of accidents and errors, and that's something to take into consideration. What PAC is going to be great for if you are a business owner, it's going to make it easier to recruit, hire, and keep high quality employees. I talk with a lot of people in the industry, and I know that that's a big struggle. I was a pet care center owner. I know employees is a struggle, keeping good employees, finding good employees. Imagine if you had somebody walk through your door with that PAC certification. You'll want to snatch them up in a heartbeat, because when you find someone that's PAC certified, you know they have a certain level of dedication. They've studied for an exam, they've paid for an exam, they're maintaining continuing education units, and that's going to speak a lot to their dedication to the industry. And it shows people that pet care is a viable career. There are ways to move forward and advance, which we're going to talk about right here. And that's why PAC is important to your team if you're a business owner. If you are a pet care provider and you're on this webinar, that is fantastic too. What PAC certification is going to do for an individual is it allows high performers to stand out. It motivates them to grow their skills. It guides them down a path of advancement. And for folks that own facilities, you can use it as an incentive to those who are standouts, those that do want to shine. You can incentivize them to help them reach their maximum potential. And why is PAC important to pet parents? I think pet parents is really the group that needs PAC the most. It's so hard for pet parents to figure out what questions they should be asking, who they should be looking for, what the facility should look like. I'm just always amazed at the, I have friends that are very functional adults with great jobs and great families and, very well educated. And when they're making decisions about pet care, sometimes I go, I wonder what made them think that was a good idea. So there really is a need to educate pet parents on what's most important when you're searching out quality pet care. And PAC certification is going to make that really easy for pet parents to differentiate. And it's also going to allow you an easy way for you to kind of separate yourself from all the others that are in your local area. So there are 3 certification levels for PAC. There is the provider level, and we're going to go over each of these in just a minute, a manager level, and an operator level exam. So for a third-party test, you have to do a number of things, and that's why there's a fee. And we talked about this earlier, why a fee is involved in taking the exam. We have to pay the Professional Testing Corporation a fee for helping us bring this exam together and make sure that our item writers are well trained, that the questions are fair, and we'll get into the question writing process here in just a minute. In addition, this test is not taken online in your pet care center in your home. It must be taken at a testing center. Testing center is going to ensure that the person taking the test is actually the person whose name is at the top of the test, first of all. It's not going to allow for phones or notes or books to be in the testing room. So to keep it third party, to keep it independent, we have to have this test conducted at a testing center, and that is going to involve some fees there. And of course, as we mentioned it before, educating the public requires a certain amount of marketing. So that's where your fees go for the PACC exam. I can assure you nobody is getting rich off of the PACC exam fees. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into it. So the item writing process, where did these questions come from? Volunteers from the industry submitted these questions. And this is really my favorite part about the PACC exam. We had some of these questions were developed by industry consultants and experts that volunteered to do it, but the vast majority of questions were written by pet care center owners and pet sitting business owners. These are the folks that live, eat, and breathe this stuff every single day. They're in the trenches, they're working with dogs, they're working with customers, they're managing businesses. So I'm super proud to say that this test is incredibly practical, filled with up-to-date information that you use every single day. I was a part of most of the test question review calls, and there were so many times we'd be reviewing a question, and after looking at it, talking about it, we would say to each other, who really cares about this? This doesn't apply to the everyday. This doesn't apply to what we're trying to get from our professionals here. So if we found the information was not practical, that question was thrown out. We want this to be about knowledge that you apply in your pet care centers every single day. So this group of fantastic volunteers were trained by PTC on how to make a proper question. Questions were written and submitted by the volunteers for each different topic. Then PTC actually reviews the questions for correctness. They also do a psychometric analysis. And what that does is it ensures that the questions can be understood by all demographics. We don't want any questions that apply just to the state of California or only valid in the US. So we had to take those questions and make sure it didn't matter if you were sitting in a testing center in Arizona, or if you're sitting in a testing center in New Zealand, Singapore, wherever it is. Everyone needs to be able to understand the question and what it's asking for. So the exam committee, after that analysis, exam committee members from our industry would review the questions to ensure it was correct, it was appropriate, and that the answer could be referenced. And that's where we came up with the questions. And again, tremendous amounts of time and effort were put into that. So we talked about the exam does have a fee. Who should pay the fee? The thing to keep in mind is the PACC certification is for an individual. So if you're a pet care center owner or pet sitting business owner, remember that the certification lies with the person. So if you're paying for your pet care provider to get certified, if they ever decide to take a different position, that certification goes with them. It doesn't stay within your business. So we do recommend that certified providers either pay the exam, or maybe owners or employers help to finance the test in some way or use it as an incentive in some way. There are many different ways people have gotten creative with this because we recognize it is a significant investment, particularly for provider level. It can be a significant investment. So there are a number of ways that you can do it. Just be sure that you know that it is a certification that lies with the individual. So which PACCC certification is right for you? This is a breakdown of some of the requirements. You can see that there is hands-on paid experience that's required. For the provider level, it's 500 hours. That's going to equate to about 90 days of work, depending on the number of hours that's worked each day. So, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months for somebody to complete that. The next level, the manager level, is about 2.5 years. And the professional animal care operator requires a minimum of 5 years in the industry with 1 year in the operator position. You have to have letters of recommendation. You can see there the test length is also on there. And again, all of this is on the website. You can view it. If you have questions regarding which certification is right for you, you can ask at the end or email us. So we want to give you an idea of what is on the exam. And again, all of this is in the on the website, but the testing at each level will have different weighting of these topics that you see here. And so the test focuses on different domains, and you'll see the different domains there. And depending on the level of tests that you're taking, they will have different amounts of these questions. For example, the provider level, let me get to that slide here. I think it's next. Yeah, so the provider level exam, these are people that are going to be with the animals most of the day, providing hands-on care. So you can see their exam will primarily consist of questions that relate to that, about 63%. And then some information about daily operations, cleaning protocols, safety, customer interactions, getting along with colleagues, 26%, and then staff management expectations. What's the proper way to call in if you're ill? What is the proper way to notify somebody of a vacation request? How do you communicate with your employees? So those are the different weightings for the provider level exam. And then what you'll see is that as you move up in the certification, you're going to have more domains added. When you go to the manager level, you'll get less into animal care and more into the operations, staff management, and the business side of things, finances, customer relations. And then for the operator level, you can see, again, that weighting shifts. We assume that if you're operating a pet care center, you're not out in the play yard, scoop and poop all day long. Although there are days we know that even the operator is going to be out there. But the shift is going to focus at the operator level to the business management side and finances and customer relations. So what is involved in each of these domains? Again, all of this is going to be on the website, but just wanted to give you an idea of what you'll see. So in animal care, it's going to focus on, play styles, health, safety, how to manage animals in the play yards or on a dog walk. And there are plenty of questions about dog walking and pet sitting. So if you own a pet sitting business, this definitely will test that body of knowledge as well. So then when you get into the operations, it really focuses a lot on what I would consider safety in all different regards. And you can see the different topics there. And on the right, you can see the weighting of those topics within each exam. Then staff management, again, weighting is going to shift as you move to those higher level exams. And these questions are so fantastic. I think this was one of the more fun parts to create because it's such a critical part of what we do. And one of the more challenging things of what we do is managing staff. So it will really test your body of knowledge there or your manager's body of knowledge. Business management. Strategic planning, stewardship, which is being a part of your community. It's not just about owning and operating a business. You have to become a part of the community to have a successful pet care center in most cases, and it talks about that. Financial management, this was not my favorite because this is not my strong suit, but about running a business. You have to pay attention to the numbers to keep your doors open, to keep the lights on. So there's a number of ways that you can test your knowledge here as well. Customer relations and marketing, how you handle customers, how you handle online reviews that come in that might not present your facility or your pet sitting business in the best light. So test your body of knowledge there as well. So if you want to take the exam, what is the first step? The first step is to, one first step can be to take a practice test. We have a practice test on our website, and it is a fantastic way to kind of demystify the PACCC exam. It's going to be questions, the exact questions won't appear on the exam, but it will give you a very good idea of the types of questions that were on there. It will help you decide as you go through the exam, the ones that were tougher for you. You can spend more of your time studying there. So take a look at that. Practice test is a great way to start. And I am now going to pass this on to Stephanie Shipley. Stephanie, if you'd like to unmute yourself here. Stephanie is our expert on registering for the exam, and so I'm going to pass the floor over to her. And Stephanie, just let me know if you need me to advance the slides.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jess. And hello to everybody who's watching. I am absolutely thrilled to be here today. I am so incredibly passionate about PACCC, its mission, what it's done for me, what it's done for my business. I'm constantly talking about it in Facebook Live videos here and there because it is, my PACCC certification has definitely been a game changer in our area, in my business, and for me personally and professionally. So anyways, I'll get right to it. We'll advance to the next slide there, Jess, and talk about the online practice exam. So via the PACCC website, you will be able to register for, we'll go back one there, register for the PACCC practice exam for whichever level of certification that you're looking for. And right on paccert.org, you can see the website address in the upper left-hand side. Under Pet Care Pros, you would simply select practice exam. And the practice exam, the cost is $95, and it takes you through a sample of questions, similar in style and verbiage and layout as those that would be in the actual exam itself. And so there's a couple of slides here. We'll go to the next one there, Jess. Once you select the practice exam from the PACCCert website, you can see where that arrow goes up there. Click on online practice test, and then you select which one you would like to take the practice test for. And so once you click there, we'll go one more slide there, Jess. You simply purchase the test. So you click the link under how to purchase. Now, it's going to take you over to the Professional Testing Corporation website. And this is where you're going to create an account for yourself. And so it's going to ask you your name and ask you to select a PIN number and things like that. So you're going to create a little account on the PTC website. And you simply click on the examination that you wish to purchase, and you apply to purchase test. And so once you do that, they will send you, or they will on your screen, they will step via the directions to actually take the practice test. Now, a note to everyone out there, the online practice test will not necessarily tell you, actually it won't tell you which of the questions you got right and which you got wrong, but it will is a summary of the different domains on which area you're strongest in and those were weak in. And this will help you study and prepare for the exam, best identify where to spend your studying time and refreshing knowledge and your body knowledge, which areas in preparation for taking the exam itself.
Hey,
So let's
Stephanie.
do one more slide.
Stephanie,
Yes.
can I interrupt you? You cut out a little bit there. You're saying that the practice exam, it won't tell you specific questions that you got wrong, but will tell you which area you got incorrect answers. Is that true?
Right. It will give you a summary of all of the areas that are in which areas of the exam, whether it be animal care or staff management, business, financials, or whichever. It will give you a summary of areas that you were strongest in and areas that you were weakest in.
Great, thank you.
Certainly. So I'm sure everybody on here, I'm looking at the question page and I see people from Canada, Mexico, Maryland, Atlanta, Colorado, all over the place. And I'm sure at this point, this has now become a no-brainer for everybody out there that becoming certified with the professional animal care certification is onto your body. So I'm going to take you just a slide version on how to register for this exam. So
Stephanie, you're breaking up quite a bit. I don't know if you speak loud or if that might help. Okay, it sounds like maybe Stephanie has dropped off a little bit here. We're gonna, yep, I can see that she's offline. So what we will do while we're waiting on Stephanie is let me advance the slides a little bit. So she reviewed how to take the practice exam. The practice exam can be very effective at helping you determine areas of weakness. And where you can focus your efforts on studying for the exam. One of the things that does come up quite a bit when people register for the exam and they take a look at our resource list, the resource list is quite extensive that we have on there because we had to have a reference for each of the questions. When you take a look at that resource list, don't feel that you need to go out and purchase everything on there. The practice exam will help guide you in your studying. What you can also do is check out the handbook, and if Stephanie's able to get back on here, she'll review that. The handbook will show you the different topics, and we all know each other. We all know ourselves the best, right? When I look at the different topics, I know that I'm very strong in animal care, customer service. I'm great with the staff, but finances is my weakness. And so that's where I might try to invest in a couple of the resources and spend most of my time studying. So again, the resource list is quite extensive, but many of these things you probably already have in your library, or if you're a member of IBPSA, you have access to them through the IBPSA website. They have a tremendous amount of resources there. So those are ways to kind of narrow down where you will study. Stephanie, I see that you're back on. Do you want to test out your audio there?
Absolutely, I am here. Sorry about that. I live in the country.
I know Stephanie is international, so this is okay. Let's try to continue on, Stephanie, and then I will let you know if you start breaking up again.
Perfect. So we're going to go on to registering for the actual exam. And on the PACC website, it breaks it down into 5 different steps for you. So the navigation through the registration process is can be a little bit, and that is simply due to broken up. I mean, and that's simply really due to the fact that because we offer a third-party independent certification, there is a random audit process to make sure that people who are applying to write the exam meet the qualifications and to sit for each exam. So the very first step in registering for the exam, right on the PACC website, paccert.org, is to download the appropriate handbook for the level of certification that you're wishing to sit for. And so if you are looking to take the provider exam, then you would download the provider handbook. And the important part of this is to start this process early because you want to be able to download the appropriate handbook, review its contents, and thoroughly understand what it is. It includes the code of ethics, it includes the eligibility requirements, it includes a lot of information that we would like for you to be able to have the time with to ask any questions that you might have. So the first step is to download the appropriate provider handbook. The second step, we're going to go on. So once we have the handbook, we've read it through, we're like, absolutely, this is something that I want to do. The second step is to make sure that you are actually in a location where you will have access to one of the various testing sites. Now, there are hundreds of testing sites, if not thousands of testing sites, but we really want to make sure, depending on your location, that you know exactly what options are available for you. So right on the PAC website, there is a big purple box there that says check for location near you. You would put in that location, sorry, you would check that box, and just if we can go to the next slide there. So you say, okay, I got the handbook. I want to make sure that I'm in a location or that there's a testing center near me. This is the site that when you click on that box that it will take you to. And you select there in the left-hand box, you would select which exam that you're looking to take, and on the next screen you would simply input your zip code or your postal code. And so that will offer, you know, as you can see in the screen print here, 90210 is pretty much the only US zip code that I know off the top of my head because of the television show. And so if I live in that zip code, I can go on to 2975 Wilshire Boulevard, which is 6.3 miles from me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see, oh, there is one 25 miles for me, or 5 miles, or 300 feet, or wherever from where I am located. So now that we have the handbook, we know that we are in a location with access to the testing centers. The next step, step 3, is to make sure that we get those attestation forms or reference letters all ready before we even go to register. And so on step 3, you can download a copy of the attestation form right from this location. And basically you would fill out your name and your address, and you would give it to the person that you are asking to serve as a reference for you. And back on that, one of those previous slides, and also in the employee or in the handbook, once you've downloaded that, it will tell you who can fill out your attestation forms. And so in most cases, if you're a facility, you can have your manager do it, or a client. If you're a solo provider, like a dog walker or a trainer or a house or a dog sitter or something like that, you can have one of your previous clients or previous employers, or maybe your vet that has known you for quite some time, your veterinarian, can also fill out an attestation form. So you want to print out 2 copies of 2 or 3 copies, depending on the level. The provider and the manager require 2 reference letter or attestation forms, and of course the operator requires 3. So you would print these out. You would give them to the people that you're asking to provide a reference, and you would have them fill it out. You would have them return it to you and scan them into your computer so that you have a digital copy ready to be able to be uploaded. So now that you've got the handbook, you know that you're in a location that has access to a testing center, and you have your completed attestation forms. The next step is just to register for the exam. Before you do so, make sure that you have your government issued identification and both of your electronic or digital copies of your completed attestation forms. Once you have those 2 things, you are now ready to register, and you click that big purple Go to Registration button. We're going to go to the next slide. There we go. So at this point, if you haven't taken the practice exam, that's okay. You can create an account with the PTC on the PTC website at this point. If you have taken the practice exam, you've already created your account. And so what we will end up doing is, pardon me, we will start registering for the exam. And there's actually an online, on the PACCC.org website, there's a PDF document that you can download that will take you through every single screen. But at the end of the day, you're going to fill out all of the required boxes, and you're going to upload the 2 attestation forms that you've had completed. What this is going to do is it's going to send it to PTC, and then they are going to audit your eligibility to make sure that you are eligible to sit for the exam for which you've applied. Within a few days of submitting your online registration, you will receive a communication from PTC acknowledging and saying that you are indeed eligible, and now you can provide payment. They have up to 10 days after you hit the submit my application to send you that eligibility. And because they're going through all of the information that you've provided. So you're going to receive a communication from them saying you are indeed eligible. Please go on and pay for your exam. It is at this point and up until 14 days prior to the testing window that you have to indeed supply the credit card information to pay for the actual exam itself. You will then, as soon as it goes through, you will receive an email saying your credit card has been processed. You are now paid. 6 weeks before the testing window, you will receive a communication with us with your code to go on and schedule your exam at the location that is closest to you. Please note that these are professional testing centers. And so not only the PACCC exam will be written at any one of these at any given time. You might be sitting, when I took my exam, I was sitting in a room in Philadelphia with people who were applying for jobs with Delta Airlines, and they were taking some aviation exam. And I was actually the only one in the room at the time taking the PACCC exam. And so it's really important that we make sure that we allow significant or enough time to be able to fulfill the registration requirements. The registration deadline for the next window of testing is February 28th. So on or before February 28th, you will have to make sure that you've gotten your handbook, that you've researched where you can take the exam, and that you've gotten your attestation forms already completed and ready for digital upload. At that point, you register for the exam. They approve your eligibility based on the information, and then you go ahead and process the payment. Anywhere as early as 6 weeks prior to the testing window, they'll say, great, here's your code. Go ahead, select your site, date, location, schedule your exam. And that is the fifth and final step. And after that, the only thing that you need to do beyond that is start brushing up on the areas of opportunity, what your strengths are, identify your strengths and weaknesses, and really dig into some of the meat of education and educational resources and get ready for the exam. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie. Again, this webinar is going to be sent out after the fact. So if you missed anything that Stephanie said, we are happy to, you're more than welcome to rewatch this. We can also send the slides to you personally if you email us. If you need help for registration, we've actually opened up a help desk just for this need. So you can email help@paccert.org. Please note, Stephanie or Carrie, can you check the info@paccert.org and ensure that it's just 2 C's in that email address? I put it there and I just want to ensure that that's correct. So we'll come back and make sure that this email address is actually correct there. And if Carrie or Stephanie, if you could check info@paccert.org and ensure I have the right name there, just chime in whenever you take a look at that. And I will come back to this slide here in just a minute. Okay, so as Stephanie mentioned, once you're registered for the exam, and the moral of the story with exam registration is to ensure you start early, because there are a couple of steps. So if you know that you're going to register for this upcoming exam, the registration window does end February 28th. So you have to have all of those steps complete. So start early. You can start today, in fact. So once you're registered for the test, it's time to study. So if you took the practice exam and you found certain areas that caused you to struggle, that's where you want to spend most of your time. Again, when you're studying, focus on the areas of weakness. You know yourself best, and take a look at those resources. When you're studying, make sure you make time for that. And again, I want to let you all know, and this is what I always share with people, is the PACC exam is challenging, but it's not tricky. It's very straightforward, very practical information. If you've worked in the industry for the allotted time that's recommended for each level of exam certification, and you have been dedicated to continuing your education and building your knowledge base, this test, with a little extra studying, you should be able to pass it. So the goal is to not be tricky, is to test that practical body of knowledge that you have. And one thing that we wanted to add in here for all of us that own pet care centers or work in pet care centers, that might not be the best place for you to study. Find a quiet place, go to the Starbucks, really dedicate a bit of time to studying those areas of weakness so you can set yourself up for success. As you're studying, it's a great idea to visualize and implement what you're learning. Encourage your team, or if you're a provider level test taker, take a look at the dogs around you. Take a look at how you interact with your coworkers, with your manager. There's no better way to learn than apply by doing it. Practice what you preach. So as you're studying, be sure to utilize that in your everyday. Okay, so hopefully you register for the exam, you take the exam. Now what? Now we want you to share the news. This is not something you want to do and keep it a secret. So there's a number of different ways that you can share this news. Once you pass the exam, we're excited to have what we call digital badges. And these are badges that are going to be available to you once you pass your exam. You can put them on your website. You can share them on your social media. And these badges are going to show your clients and your customers, your competitors even, that you have taken this extra step to make your pet care center stand out. Your customers will be able to click on this badge, and it will take them to a website explaining exactly what that certification means. In addition, once you pass the exam, you will have to maintain CEUs. Different level of CEUs for different levels of exams. The window for the CEUs is 3 years. So once you pass the exam, that certification is good for 3 years. You can renew that certification if you have obtained the proper number of CEUs, or what we call continuing education units. Okay, and then after that 3 years, you will renew your certification, and you'll be good for another 3 years. We do help you share the news of your PACC certification. We have a done-for-you marketing package that we will send once you complete and pass the PACC exam. We want to make it easy for you to stand apart from the competition. As we mentioned before, the pet care industry, or the pet care market, is getting very crowded. This is a great way for you to stand out. We designed these fabulous wrap cards that you can order, share them on your customer tours, leave them at your pet sitting clients' homes to let them know why you are the best in the area. It also helps us ensure the mission of educating pet parents about the PACC exam and the importance of this certification. So once you pass the test, be sure to look out for that marketing package. And here I pulled this off our website. This is another one of our certified providers here. And she talked about how she shares the news with her customers. She updated her LinkedIn page, her email signature. She sent it out in a customer newsletter, announced it on Facebook, and even sent a press release to her local paper. So I love this. She passed the exam. She's super proud of it. And congrats to her for getting that word out there and helping us to spread our message. Okay, so this is concluding our seminar. We're going to be available here for questions. Up here, I want to list a few great places to look for your study materials and resources. These are a few of the larger ones, but of course, for the comprehensive list of materials, please go to our website here. Carrie or Stephanie, were you able to check that web address there?
Yeah, I did, Jess. info@paccert.org, that was displayed on the screen, is indeed the correct email address.
Okay, good. So it's going to be just the 2 C's. So our web address is paccert.org. So that can be a little tricky for folks. If you forget what the website is, or you don't have, maybe you're driving, you don't have a pen and paper to write it down, you can also just go to our website and contact us there. Any questions, Carrie, that you want to shout out and answer for us in our last few minutes? And if the participants have questions, feel free to type them into the question box. What good questions did we get, Carrie?
So I've been answering them as they've come in, but just for reference, we had the question, who do the references or the attestation statements need to be from? And those can come from your employer, from a previous employer, another industry professional, such as a veterinarian, or it can come from a pet parent. Another question, in order to get a minimum number of hours for professional animal care experience, does that have to be at another pet care facility or a vet's office? What were the suggestions or recommendations? The minimum number of hours at the provider level exam, which is the entry level exam, is 500 hours, which is basically 90 days of employment. It does need to be professional experience, but that can come from working at a doggy daycare or boarding facility, working at a vet clinic, dog walking. It can also come from working at an animal control shelter. Trying to think if there's any others that we have discussed as far as on the professional level. If it comes to me, I'll chime back in on that one. A couple of questions about the handbook. There is no cost to download the handbook, and they can be downloaded at the PTC website at any time. And there's quite a bit of information that we have covered today, as well as other information regarding those attestation forms and the eligibility requirements. One of the questions was, do we get study materials before the pre-test? The answer on that is no. Although the handbook is provided, the study materials are not, and that's part of the independent third-party certification process. This is not a course where we're providing materials, you study that, and then take an online exam. This is actually testing all of your individual knowledge from your experience in the pet care industry.
Very good point. Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome. And then let's see what else. This was a good question. If the business owner is paying for an employee's test, can the business claim ownership of that certification? The answer to that is no, because we're actually certifying the individual. So we're testing that individual's body of knowledge. Myself as an employer, what I have done is when my employees registered to take the exam, I had them pay for it. That to me showed their dedication and their willingness to do something that's going to grow their position in the pet care industry. If they passed, then I gave them a choice of an incremental hourly rate raise or a bonus of something. So they basically were being reimbursed, but it was after the fact. That way, if they failed, then I didn't have to give them either. Let's see. Another question, seeing the value in taking all of 3 of the exams. However, what is PACC doing to ensure boarding facilities and pet owners know what PACC is all about? One of the biggest complaints with certification in dog training is that pet parents don't know who the certifier is, like CCPDT or KPA. For the first 2 years that PAC was kind of in its infancy, our goal was to get those exams up and running. And it was a lengthy process to write all of the questions and go through the review process. And now that we are in the final stages on the operator exam, and we're going to have the first window in March and early April, our focus is now shifting to marketing PAC, to marketing directly to the pet parents so they understand the importance of certification, and to help in specific areas where we know there may be, 2 or 3 centers that have certified employees that we can do in your market to help get the word out so parents understand why your facility is standing out from your competition in the area because you've taken this extra step to have certified staff. Let's see. Jess, you may need to answer this one. How can they view the webinar after today? Is it going to be on the website?
For all those that registered for the exam, you will actually receive an email that will have a link to the webinar. So that'll be an easy way for you to find it. In addition, it will be uploaded to our website. Right now, there's an older webinar on there, so you don't want to view it, but it will be uploaded soon on the website. And also, we have a YouTube channel, which you can find via the website. But the safest way, if you registered for the exam, is to click on the link that you're sent in email, and that will be the most up-to-date version of the webinar.
Great. Thank you for that. Let's see. The results, the question was, how long do you wait to get the results of the testing? I apologize for the Frenchy noise in my background.
That's okay.
I've been really trying to keep it quiet. But, I would say that the process is 2 to 3 weeks. That's been the experience with when I took the exam before I joined the board, and also with my staff who have taken the exam. It takes longer to get the digital badge and your actual certificate in the mail, but they send you your test results fairly quickly. Let's see. As a pet parent, what is my contribution to your organization? That's a very good question. Any testimonials that we can get to put on our website from a pet parent is fantastic. If you have a facility in your area that you're using, or if you've been to a facility that doesn't have a certified professional and you switch and you see the difference, those kind of testimonials are worth gold to us, because that's the type of thing that we can list, and that just helps as far as the marketing to the whole industry, why certification is so valuable. Let's see here. If you fail the exam on the first try, can you take it again, or do you pay the full fee again? Yes, unfortunately, if you fail the exam, you do have to pay the full fee again. And that has to do with what the cost is with the Professional Testing Corporation and what they do as far as checking references and setting up the exam for you. That's something that's out of our control. Question is, can experience be obtained volunteering for a rescue? That, at this point, the answer is no, because we have no way, or the Professional Testing Corporation does not have a way of verifying volunteer experience. Here's another question. If you're a sole proprietor with no employees, which exam level would you recommend? You could take any of them. You don't have to have employees to take the operator or the manager level, because you're basically managing the business, you're operating the business. So you could take all 3, or you could take just one, whatever your preference would be. I guess the only caveat for that would be the time that you've had your business. I believe it's
5 years experience
on the operator level. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So so you would have to have been in business for at least 5 years in order to pass to sit for the operator exam. Oh, what is the cost of the practice test is $95. What is the cost of the actual exam? Right now, the certified professional. Oh, Peg.
Yeah, if you don't have the cost, I have it right here. That's updated.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, so as Carrie mentioned, the cost of the practice exam is $95. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier. The practice exam can be taken online. You do not have to go to a testing center for that. So it's super easy to take that one. The provider level exam is $350 US. The manager exam is $450 US. And the operator exam is $550 US. Please keep in mind that that is for a 3-year certification. So it is a significant investment, but it's something that's going to be valuable for 3 years.
I've had a few people ask where the handbook is to download on the website. So I'm just going to attach the link to that particular question, and hopefully everyone will be able to see the answer to that.
An easy way to find that too, if you go to the PAC website and the frequently asked questions, that's an easy way to download it as well. It's in there.
Okay, there's the link to that one. A comment from somebody outside the country. Could you please comment about the certification in other countries? I'm in Brazil, for example. Is there any difference? Stephanie, if you're still on the line, I'm going to have you answer that since you're in Canada and your experience was a little different than mine here in the States.
You know what, from an international perspective, depending on where you are located, you still want to follow the exact same 5 steps and find out if there's a PTC center or professional testing center in your area. If not, there are instructions in the handbook on how to obtain a proctor internationally who can help you who can sit with you as you take the exam to make sure that it is done without the use of any materials, books, phones, et cetera, et cetera. One of our fellow board members, Nee, who lives in Singapore, used the services of a proctor because there was not a testing center nearby to her. But for me here in Canada, I was able to follow the exact same 5 steps. I got the handbook. I made sure there was a testing center near me. I got my attestation forms and I registered for the exam.
Hey, Carrie, Anna wanted to clarify one thing. When the question about when do you receive the results, it is 2 weeks after the testing period ends.
Okay.
So not necessarily 2 weeks after you take the exam. So for example, for this coming up exam, the window is March 24th through April 7th. You will receive your results within 2 weeks of April 7th. So when that testing window closes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then another question similar to that was that if the February 28th deadline is too close, when is the next window? The next deadline to register is May 31st of 2018, and the testing window is June 16th through June 30th.
Carrie, you guys are the exam experts. Can they register for that now, or do they have to wait until this window closes? Do we know the answer to that?
I know the answer to that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Anna.
Go ahead, Carrie. No, I was going to say absolutely, you can.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anna.
Yes.
During the registration process, you'll be asked which exam that you'd like to sit for. And once you select that exam that you would like to sit for, then you'll be presented with the 3 testing windows that are available in 2018. You can select right from there whether it is the next one starting in March, whether it's the one in June, or later on in the year.
Great. Another question came from, what are the CEUs needed for renewal and how are they accessed? The approved CEUs that we have to date are on the PAC website. I believe if you go to, Stephanie, it's just, yeah, if you go to Pet Care Pros, it's the 3rd option in that drop-down menu that says CEU programs. And that will list what is available, what the process is for that.
And the CEUs that are assigned to each program are a direct correlation to the time that it takes to complete the program or the learning itself. For example, if it's a 4-hour CPR and first aid course, then it will likely be assigned 4 CEUs. Whereas if it's a 1-hour webinar, it may only qualify for one CEU.
The next testing window after the June dates are the registration deadline is September 30th, and the testing window is October 27th through November 10th. We've had somebody ask, when do you think the operator practice test will be available? Anna, I'm going to defer to you. I know that's still in the programming development phase. Do we know if that's going to be live before the March deadline or the March testing?
Yeah, it is absolutely scheduled to be done in March. I don't think it will be guaranteed to be up and running before the registration deadline, however. So it was early March where we were expecting it to be out.
Okay. So for the operators, if they wish to take the practice test before taking the exam, they should register for the June exam period.
Right, and if we can, I can follow up and get a better answer for you with a more precise date. We should be close to that, and we can pass that on to everyone. So before the deadline, so that they can know whether or not they can take the practice exam if they prefer. Do that prior.
Great. We also have Lee Solomon on the webinar, who is with Ginger Software, and he has just said that he will do a raffle shortly after this webinar to cover the exam fee for 5 providers. They'll share the details on Facebook. So if you want to go to their Facebook page, that's an opportunity to win the cost of a provider level exam. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Wowza. Yeah, and I have to say, and Anna might contribute to this, Ginger has been a fabulous supporter of PAC, and we're so thankful for all our sponsors and donors, but Ginger really has stepped up and carried us through this year. So we are so appreciative of their support. So if you see the folks from Ginger, tell them thank you for wanting to be a part of elevating this industry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that, Jessica. And I would also say that if you're a client of Ginger, you may want to speak to Ginger about some specials that they may have coming up before the registration for the exam.
That's the end of the questions that I've received, Jess.
Okay, very good. Well, we want to thank everybody for coming today. Carrie, Stephanie, Anna, thank you for joining us. Your input was very valuable. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to even walk you through the registration. We're happy to set an appointment via phone, walk you through that registration process. So please don't be afraid to do that. We're happy to answer any questions. And again, just thank you very much for coming. As a reminder, the exam window for the registration exam window closes on February 28th. So if you want to get in and be a part of this right away, get to that website and start that process today. Thanks again. Anything from Stephanie, Carrie, or Anna that you feel needs to be added?
I just want to say that you guys did an amazing job. I know that, and I have to thank our volunteers and really encourage the people who are listening who may want to participate to volunteer. There's many, many things that can be done. And as Jess said, this has taken thousands of hours to put together. And specifically, these 3 ladies, Carrie, Stephanie, and Jess, have put a ton of time and effort into this. And we wouldn't have been here without them. So I just want to say a special thank you to them.
Oh, thank you, Anna. And, I'll say too, volunteering for PAC, it's not just about work. It is a lot of fun too. And it's great networking and just getting to know some other really quality people in the industry is a big part of it too. So if you want to join a fantastic community of people, please volunteer to be a part of this great organization. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. And a recorded version of the webinar will be sent out very soon. Thank you. This concludes the webinar.